Hey, how are you doing, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name is Gavin, and for the first time this season, I'm welcoming you to Week 16 Fantasy Football while we still have games to be played here on a Tuesday. So this video is going up Tuesday morning. This evening, we still have the Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams games because of the delay with COVID, all the players that were out. Obviously, I'm sure that still hurt some of your lineups this week and will continue to hurt others this coming week, as that's really a lot of what today's episode is centered around, is the fact that players are out. So it's that next man up mentality. We've got a lot of opportunities for some quality and talented players to step up to the plate and deliver us with some really good numbers here down the stretch. So a little bit misleading in the title of today's episode. We're obviously calling this 10 must-add players. I've got about 8 or 9. I've got 7 I feel really good about for today's episode. The last 2 I think are kind of tweeners. And you're looking at some deeper leagues for the last couple of names we mentioned today. But at the top of the list, that's what really matters here. There are some really valuable pickups that you need to prioritize this week. Do not forget to submit those claims because there are going to be difference makers on the waiver wire in your leagues early on this week. So it's Tuesday, waivers processed this evening or late tonight, early Wednesday morning, whatever you want to call it. It's at like 2 in the morning is when those go through. Make sure you get those claims submitted because, again, we've got valuable players at valuable positions, in particular, a lot of running backs for today. So with that being said, a lot of talking for the intro today. Let's hit it and let's get started. Alrighty, here we go. So one thing I want to touch on before we get into today's episode is that this is going to be kind of an odd week for SFS here. So I'm finishing up my semester of college here. So you're seeing this video on Tuesday morning. I'm recording it late Monday evening, and I'll be recording another video late on this evening, Tuesday night, after the finale of that Rams and Seahawks game. But Wednesday and Thursday, I'm not really sure what content is going to look like here because I'll be back at college. So I'm kind of in between places right now, celebrating the holidays with my family and then going back, driving a few hours back to college to take 2 final exams before I wrap up this semester. And then I'll be back for the entirety of the next month or so as we have a really long J term this year. So I'm not sure how many videos we're going to get out this week, so it's very important that those of you watching want information from me. I want to pick my brain, ask me advice. I'm going to be extra accessible and available to you all on Wednesday and Thursday as much as I can, and throughout this week when content on YouTube might be a little bit more scarce. On the SFS community Discord, the free invite link to that is in the description of today's video. We had a lot of good conversations in there on Monday, including some really awesome shared tweets. We talked a lot about Ronald Jones, some of these other players that we're going to be talking about today. And one of my favorite tweets that was sent in that Discord chat, and one of my favorite graphics that was shared with us, I'll see if I can edit that in here and put it up on the screen for Mike Clay, but Ronald Jones is my priority pickup for this week. Leonard Fournette is expected to miss 1 to 2 games here obviously the next 1 to 2 games, that is. And that opens up a huge opportunity for Ronald Jones. So as you see that tweet there, Ronald Jones in his last 4 games, Leonard Fournette has missed this season. He's got 26 touches for $128, 20 touches for $125, 25 touches for $121 and 2 touchdowns, another 19 touches for 84 yards and a touchdown, as well as a 198-yard game against the Carolina Panthers, in which he also had a rushing touchdown in that matchup. And Leonard Fournette was on the field for 29 of those snaps. So you're seeing a very talented player who has, frankly, been kind of kicked out of the running back rotation here this season because of some early fumble issues. And we haven't seen that much of Ronald Jones here. But I think what you're getting in Rojo in the starting lineup now without Leonard Fournette, obviously, is a really talented, really physical player that plays hard, tough-nosed football. I really loved Ronald Jones in the offseason, talking about his talent. And obviously, we knew the situation coming in here was going to be that Ronald Jones would probably never get the opportunity to be a workhorse for this Tampa Bay offense. But man, we could dream. And I think that for the next game or so, which potentially is the semifinal and final round of your fantasy leagues this season, are going to be incredibly valuable numbers for Jones. And I think we're really going to get to see flashes of what he could be if he were able to head to an offense in free agency, that is, that utilizes his skill set a bit more. Now, I will say the one flaw in his game, the one hole, if you will, is he's not a great pass catcher. He's not the most skilled catcher of the football, the smoothest player out in space catching the ball and continuing to run in stride. But there's going to be opportunities, and I think that they're at least going to test the waters there because of how many targets Leonard Fournette has been seeing. And Giovanni Bernard on the injured reserve, Rojo is really the guy right now, and Keyshawn Vaughn will probably be involved here somewhat and ready to go for these games as well. But Coach Arians has already went ahead and said that Ronald Jones will be the guy in this matchup. So against New Orleans, he had 10 total touches after Fournette left that game, 71 yards, so 7.1 yards per touch. That's again 8 rushing attempts, 2 receptions. Super talented player. He's going to have the opportunity again to be a top 12 play week in and week out. This is by far your most valuable pickup here and potentially a difference maker. This could change the outcome of your league with the upside I see Rojo having here the next couple of games. Duke Johnson for the Miami Dolphins, another player here. Duke Johnson's been a bit of a journeyman, started his career with the Cleveland Browns, never really panned out there, spent some time with the Texans. Now he's on the Miami Dolphins. He was signed there to fill in some COVID relief with Myles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed, and then obviously Malcolm Brown's been injured this season. So he came in and did a really good job this week against the Jets. I don't think that the team was confident that Myles Gaskin was ready to go for a full workload after recovering from COVID. Duke Johnson played 58% of the snaps, 22 of those, or he earned 22 carries in that opportunity there, 107 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He looked pretty good. Physical on the goal line, was pushing through defenders, and this is a player who we typically think of as a receiving back. So the fact that we were seeing him do so much damage in the run game and averaging nearly 5 yards per touch shows that, he's got a well-refined game. This is not some all-star type talent here, but Duke Johnson can get the job done when given the opportunities and the work here. Gaskin had 10 rushes in this game, so it was a very heavy ground attack for Miami here. 54 yards rushing on the ground for that team. So Duke Johnson, I'm not exactly super confident and feel super safe that he is going to, I hope you guys can't hear the sirens that are going past my house right now. Duke Johnson's not someone I'm entirely confident in that he's going to maintain this workhorse level role. And again, he did only play 58% of snaps, so it's not like he was overly dominating the touch count or at least the on-field snaps in this offense, but he did significantly out-touch Gaskin by 12 on the ground. And again, he did have 1 reception for 20 yards as well. So you give me 23 total touches, 127 yards from scrimmage. That's a great day for any running back if you can get that here and have him filling in. There's a potential for RB2 numbers down the stretch of this season. Amon Ra St. Brown moving into a wide receiver now. The second straight week we've got St. Brown on the list. I really like what he can do for this Detroit Lions offense. He's shown us some flashes. Obviously had the game winner for Detroit's first win against the Minnesota Vikings. And what an upset. Just a quick second here to shout out the Lions knocking off the Arizona Cardinals. Back-to-back losses for Arizona. That's got to be troubling to see. But man, Dan Campbell's football team, they play hard. They buy into him. They believe in him. I think the Lions finally have something going here. This is not a team that should be expected to go win the Super Bowl next year, but starting from the ground up, completely tearing this thing down and starting that rebuilding process over and doing it right is really doing this team a big favor. They've got some nice, talented players on the defensive side of the ball especially, but I think St. Brown is kind of a gem here and a diamond in the rough in the 4th round for the Lions this past draft. So I think he's got every opportunity to step up and grasp a hold of that number 1 pass-catching playmaker in this offense, especially with TJ Hawkinson out for the rest of the season. So St. Brown, another sneaky pickup if you're looking for a flex in PPR leagues. He hauled in another 8 grabs for 90 yards and a touchdown this week. One key note is that Jared Goff has landed on the COVID reserve list, so you don't really know what his availability is looking like for this week, but St. Brown's certainly a valuable and talented asset to have. How about back into the running back group here? Justin Jackson for the Los Angeles Chargers. Austin Eckler is a little bit right now at the time of recording this episode. He's kind of in some gray area in terms of his status with COVID right now. Earlier on Monday, there was the report from Adam Schefter that Eckler had landed on the COVID list along with Corey Linsley and Joey Bosa. And then a few hours later into the afternoon, that original stance or report was altered to say that Eckler had not been placed on the list yet. So nonetheless, I would still put in a claim for Justin Jackson here. I think I would honestly say that the gap between him and Duke Johnson behind Ronald Jones for that top priority claim is very thin, because Justin Jackson, believe it or not, led the Chargers in scrimmage yards against the Chiefs this past Thursday. He had 99 yards from scrimmage. He had 13 carries for 86 yards on the ground that led the team in rushing, and then he also had a reception for 13 yards as well. So the Chargers are at Houston here in Week 16. That at Houston part is important, because I think the likelihood that the team would travel Austin Eckler the day before the game if he had not been cleared from COVID protocols is very slim. So I think that there's a greater chance with this game being on the road and the fact that you have to travel Eckler that he would play. So depending on what we learn about this on Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, whatever the case might be, I think Justin Jackson has the chance to be a very valuable piece here. Going back to his rookie season in 2018, I actually picked up Justin Jackson again in his rookie year as an undrafted player who made a big impact for me down the stretch of that season. He is a talented, very smooth rusher. He can have some explosive ability in open space. I really like him as a talent. If he gets the opportunity, I think he certainly could cash in and deliver for our lineups here, especially if you're playing against Austin Eckler is a very, very valuable and important fantasy piece. If you're playing against someone missing Austin Eckler and you can go in and steal his handcuff from him, there's obviously the chance after that ankle scare that Jackson's already been rostered in your leagues. But if that's not the case, take every advantage here and go out and pick up a very important player. Gabriel Davis back into the wide receiver column here for the Buffalo Bills. What a player he has become. The plays he's making, 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. I was actually rather shocked when Buffalo signed Emmanuel Sanders this offseason, because with the number 1 spot clearly being occupied with Stephon Diggs and having Cole Beasley as the clear slot guy, Gabe Davis was the perfect number 2 boundary wide receiver. He's got some nice size, speed. He can win contested grabs. He's a decent red zone threat as well. He's not super polished as a route runner yet, but he could certainly get to that point. They bring in Emmanuel Sanders, a very good veteran, and this is now a very good top 4 wide receiver core, but he has come in here since Sanders has been banged up lately and really made some impressive plays. You talk about having the touchdown reception against Tampa Bay back in week 14 now. He had 5 grabs, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Now 5 grabs, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Panthers here in week 15. And he's really showing us what he can do next season. This could be a very valuable pickup, because when teams are looking at Stephon Diggs and clearly respecting him as the number 1 threat in this offense, and you have a capable player the caliber of Gabriel Davis at that number 2 spot, that's a real advantage for Buffalo pushing the football down the field, and I think they could make some noise with him at that spot. So down the stretch of this season, if you're looking for a high upside flex play, I wouldn't really look too much farther than a Gabe Davis. There's a lot of points to be had here. He's not necessarily the safest floor option, but every week that he continues to stack these good games on top of one another, I'm starting to like him even more and more. And then Craig Reynolds here for the Detroit Lions. Now this one, obviously he's lower down on the list for today's episode because of the fact that, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams' health is really what this comes down to. Craig Reynolds is not going to get snaps, or very many of them. Maybe after his last 2 performances, he's earned some time on the field here and there, but only situationally. Obviously, he's not going to be playing too much football when those other 2 are out there and healthy, ready to go. But in their absence the last 2 games, Craig Reynolds has been an impressive player. Now, he has had a couple of fumble rooskies, but He's gotten the job done. 112 yards on the ground is still very impressive, albeit on 26 carries. So he is getting workhorse-type volume. He's not super talented, but he's very capable, and he has shown us nice flashes, nice stints. He plays tough, hard. He plays with passion. You love to see all that out there, buying in, again, to Dan Campbell's system. So I think if he goes out there, he's a lower-end RB2 to RB3. I obviously was really surprised at the Lions' upset of the Cardinals. So the fact that they led for so much of that game let them control the pace and the tempo and run more than they are typically able to. So Craig has a decent opportunity when he's the lead back there. He actually got signed full-time to the Detroit Lions active roster after that game because of his impressive performance. So a great Cinderella story here with Craig Reynolds, and someone you could potentially look at here in the future. And then the final name on the list today is Rashaad Penny of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, obviously, Penny has not played his matchup if you're watching this on Tuesday morning or afternoon, as he's playing on our rare occurrence of Tuesday Night Football here against the Los Angeles Rams. What we're looking at here is last week's numbers against the Houston Texans. 16 rushes on the ground, a $137, and 2 rushing touchdowns. The matchup doesn't make this performance super impressive, but what does is the amount of volume and how much he outtouched his fellow backfield mates by. Alex Collins' role has been reduced here, and the injuries that other players in this backfield have set up Penny for more success if he can just stay healthy. Now, there's a chance if you're watching this Wednesday morning, that, Penny might get banged up against the Rams, and maybe he's not available for this coming week. But the talent is there. This is a skilled player. He's certainly been a bust, like I said this last week, I think, to this point in his career, because he just flat out can't stay healthy out of San Diego State. He has been an injury-bugged mess, but he's a dynamic player. He can catch passes smoothly out of the backfield, play physical, put his shoulder pads down. I like what Rashaad Penny brings to the table. So if you give me a lower-end RB2 even for the way the running back position is set up right now, this late in the season, you will take that if you can at least have some different matchups to pick from in your lineup and have a little bit of depth there. Penny certainly adds something there. And then finally, we're not going to show an image here for this one, but Samaje Perine for the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're a Joe Mixon owner, we don't exactly know the severity of that injury or if it's going to be anything that causes him to miss time. But just go out there and grab the insurance policy if you've got room on your bench. He did leave that contest with a lower body injury. So, again, we don't know exactly a timeline or anything like that. Maybe he won't even miss games. Maybe it's overblown here. He left the contest, but nothing to really worry about. P. Ryan's a dynamic player, though, not a super great running back, but he is a really skilled pass catcher and very elusive in the open field. So, potentially another valuable add there. Lots of running backs. You love to see that. You hate to see it if you're the owner of any of these players going down. But obviously, for the rest of us competing for those fantasy championships, if you're looking for a difference maker, a spark plug that can go out there and potentially have a nice ceiling game to make the difference in your leagues, there are plenty of options here. We just listed 9 of them that can go out there and be serviceable ads and even lineup starts this late in the year. Alrighty, those were our 9 players. Sorry we didn't make it quite to 10 this week, but there's only so much we can do with what we're given. Again, though, the top-end names, I would say, this is one of the best weeks for top-end available players. Ronald Jones, Justin Jackson, Gabe Davis, Amon Ra St. Brown. Very, very potential or have the potential to be lineup starters in either flex or RB2 positions down the stretch here. Duke Johnson Jr. as well. So lots of names. Keep these in consideration. Put in multiple claims. Obviously, if you have questions for me, drop those down in the comment section below. And remember, before you leave, to join that community Discord server, the link is down below in the description of today's episode. I'll be putting out updates, information whenever I've got it, comments about this week, whatever it might be. You can get a hold of me in there and interact with other people or other players who are watching the SFS channel, and we'll help get you guys ready to go for your Week 16 game. So I hope you all won this week. I hope it's been a great fantasy season this far, or to this point in the season, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.